Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Simone. I am the Manager of Project Services at Geneia. And today you will be part of the presentation that unfortunately I can't deliver to you in person, called Agile or PPM in IT Business Management. Stop. They're both right. A few disclaimers and our safe harbor notice for those of you to just take a quick look over. Today we're going to cover about 10 topics. On our agenda is who am I? My company Geneia and their journey, some of the challenges we faced, the implications for what Geneia's journey entails. Moving to Agile from PPM is not an either-or situation. The solution we implemented, some of the value outcomes we achieved, the lessons we've learned, our next steps, and our top takeaways. Part of our journey started back in 2018. Where Geneia made the decision to move to Agile development and that framework from our waterfall methodology. Part of this initial transition involved education to the entire company, communication, and a willingness to change our status quo. This mostly was brought about by a major market opportunity that required we be faster, more dynamic, and adapt to the market. To the marketplace so we could better serve our customers and potential customers. The Agile framework actually provides for this ability in the best way. Still, the foundational aspects of standing up an Agile practice do need project management-based elements. And this is not always clear at the outset when companies or organizations decide to move to Agile. Some of the challenges we had was a lack of clarity around the exact nature of what moving to Agile meant. Some of the problems we had was the initial focus was largely on stories and story writing and what those stories entailed. Stories are part of the Agile framework, but they're only a piece of it. They're not the whole concept. Organizationally, we had a little bit of difficulty with Agile being more than a change in the tools we use as opposed to the way we work. Some of us were just doing waterfall in Agile, and we have to make sure that that doesn't take place when you make that shift. Some of the phrases that you might hear and should make you say, if you hear them thrown about in your company are planning sprint, sprint zero, or hardening sprint, among a few others. These terms basically make your company use waterfall, but you're doing it in Agile. We need to clarify the distinction. If you do things like a planning sprint, and that takes you a week, and then sprint zero happens, and then after you do your development work, you do a testing sprint or a hardening sprint. If you lay that out on a chart based on the dates you complete them, it will look like waterfall. That is not what Agile development is. So some of the implications for Geneia's journey was that we had a very slow pace of release. And we did not have the ability to act quickly or adapt to market conditions or market opportunities. This was inhibiting us. It also laid on a higher cost associated with resource allocation. We did not get the visibility or the ability to change quickly if we wanted to the way we were working before, especially in waterfall, but even on the outset of using Agile in more of the incorrect way, and that would be more doing waterfall in the Agile tool, as I alluded to earlier. So the key part about this is moving to Agile from PPM is not an either-or choice. Moving to Agile framework for your organization is not a simple decision. Not every company should be doing it. The word Agile itself does mean quick and nimble and the ability to adapt, but perhaps there are things that shouldn't be that nimble or quickly moved upon. Software development, and for our company, it was the right decision. So this does require buy-in from the entire organization and a willingness to adopt to a new working process. If there are poison pills throughout the organization of people saying, well, I hate Agile, or I don't understand it, or it isn't best for us, there really needs to be a consensus developed that for certain parts of what you are trying to achieve, Agile is the best choice. So this doesn't mean that we abandon our project management principles, practices, and the ServiceNow tools themselves. An integrated approach, meaning both Agile and PPM module, provides the best insight and ability to manage the work effort. So why does this matter? For several reasons. You have an improved resource allocation, tracking, and analysis capability if you use both PPM and Agile, starting with PPM. We have visibility into our effort in real time so you can understand as the process goes how your team is performing. An integrated approach improves Scrum team performance overall because of that visibility. Additionally, senior management has transparency into org performance. All of the data collected before and after, before in PPM, during in the Agile process in the Agile module, and after when the sprint retrospective takes place, can be communicated up to senior management to capture things like planned versus actual build cost. You can develop benchmarks, additionally a return on investment, and get a better idea of what your opportunity cost is. So the solution for us was an integrated use of PPM and Agile. We came about this way from a lot of frustrating business processes and the lessons learned coming from that. We had to change, I'd say, at least 2 to 3 times over the course of this process, the way we were organized as a team, what parts of our team did what work, and we also experimented with incremental improvements in the business process. We took stock at the end of each sprint or project. In addition to quarterly, we regularly checked in to see what was working and what wasn't working. And for the things that weren't working, we looked at what we could do and experimented and tried different things of shortening some meetings, lengthening others, deleting meetings altogether off of our calendar, things like that, to see what would be the best business improvement process. We also researched and adopted industry best practices. There's a good chance that if you're frustrated in the way things are working in your company, that somebody else has experienced a very similar frustration. So please go out there, talk to people, talk to other companies that may be in this process, and understand what they did to make their improvement, their performance improvement to take place. So for some frame of reference, the use of PPM was started at the very onset of our ServiceNow implementation back in 2015. The additional use of Agile is once we made that decision to move to an Agile framework as an organization. Important point here is part of the solution. ServiceNow is a tool, and it matters how you use it. So as I alluded to earlier, if you are doing waterfall in the Agile tool, you're not going to get as much as you can out of it if you take an integrated approach of using both PPM and Agile properly. Some of the high-level aspects of this are what these modules are designed to do and tell you. On the PPM side, it's definitely more planning focused. It's not really tracking your development effort. So it's going to track perhaps research, perhaps the ability to understand who you're going to need for resources. That flows down into what teams will be working on this project and how you can track their activity. You're also capturing time per person, and you can get a valuable analysis on what the resources that you have available at your company are working on across the board throughout your organization. On the Agile side, it's definitely more product focused. That can be an internal product, such as an intranet site, or an external product that your clients or potential clients will be consuming. Agile also tracks the development effort itself, the coding, the testing. That's where that work is going to be captured and can be analyzed. You're going to see that you can break down your product or break down by product in the Agile module. So you can see what your effort is being put towards if you have a lot of different products in the market, and how much this is where we get into more of the return on investment and being able to track that effort. So we can actually capture effort by the type of work that's taking place. Again, testing, development, research, defect fixes, things like that can be tracked in the Agile module. And at the end of that, you do get a product analysis. How much is it costing you to make this product compared to another product? And that will help inform your future decisions to better understand what your current benchmarks are and whether it's worth the next enhancement or pursuing a new product altogether. In the PPM module, it's going to look at your planning forward. You look at these items and it captures the elements of the overall effort to build the product, not necessarily the minute detail. Things, major project tasks that can be broken down into subtasks and subtasks and all the way down that you can see on any Gantt chart. But you also track your resource plans. You can pull in stories that are being worked on in the Agile environment. This is where you can put together baselines, track your time cards, capture your requirements from your stakeholders, as well as your risks, track issues, and, as we'll see in a second, the demands. The Agile module itself is used to build the product. Here's a high-level workflow of the way we handle the work that comes into our group and organization. This is a business, not technical flow. On the PPM side, we see our demands come in. From there, the demands are broken out into different requirements. Below that, those requirements translate into development effort that's tracked by themes, epics, and stories in the Agile module. We also need to determine, before we even start working on these things, who's going to work on it. So we need a resource plan. If you want a certain developer to work on the new demand that comes in and the requirements, well, you have to make sure that they're available and they're not already allocated. Or if they are, what other projects that they're working on are going to be moved to somebody else. This translates into your story point capacity that's available in the Agile environment to let you know how quickly you're going to actually build your product. Below that, in real time or after the fact, we see what they've worked on and how much time has been spent per team member on the project task itself via a time card, and what they're working on and the type of work they're completing in the SCRUM task. So using all of this, the lessons learned, the best practices, and additionally trying a iterative approach and continuous improvement viewpoint, after implementing Agile, we've went from approximately 1 release a year to 3 releases per year. Now, was the overall apples to apples comparison of content released after that 1 year comparable to what was released after the same year doing 3 releases? Well, no. We got more out the door with the 3 releases per year. We were faster. We were able to change throughout the year if market conditions warranted, and we were able to provide improved performance of the product itself because of this change from waterfall to Agile. Additionally, you're getting before, during, and after insights into your product and organizational performance. You get resource breakdowns by area of focus, capturing effort hours for type of work completed, and analysis providing cost per product per work type. So if you have large development teams and large testing teams, you're going to be able to better see how long it's taking them to develop the product itself, or if it's a different type of product than from one to the next, how much longer or shorter it is for them to complete their work. This is critical because that's going to be able to better inform your ROI decisions down the road for your next release, enhancement, or new product. So the information available is there to improve your business process, and it certainly has improved ours. We have faster adaptation to market impacts, better forward-looking planning capability, and this all affects the bottom line. Some of the lessons we learned. Adopting to Agile framework is not an overnight effort. It takes time. And you have to be able to measure your performance and tell the folks within your organization, even at your level or a higher level, why and how this is improving your performance. Traditional project management is needed, and PMs do make good Scrum Masters because they're able to build upon their PM knowledge, not just throw it out the door and move to Agile and become a Scrum Master. So it's more foundational elements that are still important and need to be utilized. Additionally, the lesson we learned was an incremental approach to our business process improvement is the better one. Wholesale change of throwing out the way you do your work currently for a brand new reinvented process really doesn't work well in terms of Agile or PPM. It's better to make changes, small and large, over a long and medium term to see the better performance. So how do you do that? Well, you have to be aware of your current process and why you are doing what you're doing. Is what you're doing working for you? If on a weekly or daily basis you continually have frustrations with a certain business process, you should stop, take a look at it, ask why you are doing what you're doing, and ask if there are certain things you can do to change that would improve the overall attitude and view that both you and the team members you have would I guess improve morale and see if it could work in a better method. So for some of our next steps here at Geneia is for adoption by the enterprise. We're almost at a mature organization for Agile, but there are some fine-tuning elements we could use, incorporating both PPM and better use of Agile, assuming for tracking of effort, breakdown of work type, and additionally resource insights that we can get through an integrated approach. We're going to achieve that by continuous improvement. We're continuing to look backward at what we have done and how we can improve iteratively what we do on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and we're informed by better data that is now available to us. Finally, our top takeaways. Be patient, but persistent. It is not going to happen overnight. You're not going to go from a low-performing organization or a frustrated organization to a finely tuned machine in one day or 1 week. But as you find the problem areas that you need to improve and work on them over time and take stock of how your team or group is working, you will see improvement. Don't put out the fire, find out what is causing the fire. Again, if there are frustrations you're experiencing on a weekly, monthly, daily basis, understand why it's starting in the first place. Go to that point and figure out how you can improve, even if it's just a small way, that process. Because our third takeaway, look for opportunities big and small. If you look for opportunities big and small, if you perhaps want a big change in the way your company or your organization is performing, sometimes changing something a little bit can open up a whole new view of how you can change something in a big way. So look for those opportunities, big and small, of how you can improve what you're doing on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. Well, thank you for attending this presentation. I'm sorry I couldn't do it in person, but hopefully you took some value out of it and are able to improve your organization's performance by using both the PPM module and Agile module within ServiceNow. Good luck and stay safe out there. Thanks.